Let's have a look at two beautiful knives we have here on the bench today, guys. Sent in by a client, two beautiful PUMA knives. We're big fans of the PUMA knives here on the channel. We've restored a few. I'll see if I can link those at the end, but look here. Interesting patterns. This one's taken a little bit of filing, but not a whole lot. PUMA makes some different looking knives like this, and this is the worst one, but both need a pretty hefty restoration here. We've got some issues going on. Look at this beauty here. The blade is in pretty good shape except for this lower portion. And just before we get started here, I'll let you guys know the owner wants these. This is the context of the project. The owner wants these knives as perfect as possible without going overboard. Of course, we don't want to touch any of this blade stamping or anything like that, but the knife is in good shape around there. That's not going to be an issue. We've got some scratching around here. We've got a real bad edge. Just needs to be properly reprofiled. It's got a little bite to it, but needs to be reprofiled. You can see here in the handle, we have pass through. Can you see the light there? We have, I don't know, some kind of a liner. I don't know. In this era, it might have been like a Bakelite or something like that, but we have a section gone there all the way through to the back side. All of these layers are very separate from each other. You know, I can hook my nail deep down into each layer, so the lines are just plain off. Got some green oxidation around the pins. The pommel here, little rough. The rear bolsters could use a good buffing. Looks like we have a sliver of brass, a little brass liner in here as well. Just a beautiful little knife, but needs some work, needs some cleanup, and we're gonna transform it. Now this other knife here, on the other hand, has had better days. She's a little rough. Let's have a look at that tang there. You can see pretty rough. The blade, the polish that used to be on the blade is now gone and is a dull kind of scratched finish. And then we have some pitting, some surface rust. The aluminum bolster here is rough and oxidized. See the tang on the inside. This is a natural stag, so that's why you're seeing, you know, those cool shapes and lines. They just went with the natural line of the stag. I like that. Just nasty in around these parts of the knife and around the pins and stuff. Look at that. We've got a little thong tube that passes through there. Look at the oxidation around there. Beautiful knife. Absolutely no finish right now on that stag material. Just flat, chalky, dry. So we're looking at this project here now, and we're seeing a lot of things that needs to be done. And if you're getting into this line of work, or any line of work really, where you're doing repairs, servicing, things like that for people, now is when, unless you've had the big time discussion before, now is when you might want to reach out to your client and just make sure they know what they're getting into, what degree they're expecting the restoration to be. If you return, if I spend 30 hours, there's not 30 hours of work here, but if I was going to spend 30 hours now and give this client a massive bill, a couple $1,000s, that could be a shock to some people when they're expecting a $200 bill. So bring it to the client, see where they want to go, manage everyone's expectations so that at the end of the project, everyone's happy. The client's getting what they wanted, they're getting the results they wanted, they're not shocked by the price, and I'm not going to have any problems getting compensated for my work. I'm not going to have any disgruntled clients that are going to go out and tarnish my name and things like that. So make sure everyone is on the same page. The first step is to carve everything away on the project that we don't need. That means any scale material, any liners that we don't want, anything that's protruding like stag that's swollen out past or shrunk beneath, we want to carve that tang down flush. Any scaling rust or anything like that, we want to remove so we see what we have to work with at its lowest level, and then we see what we need to add back. In this case here right now, we have some bad gaps to fill, we have some chunks of liner removed, we have some little hairline gaps between the liners, and we can use different materials to fill those things in. If we had a chipped scale or a chipped piece of a wood scale or something, now we can see about adding that back in. If you're going to be doing restoration work, let me tell you, you want this product I'm using here now. And although I'm not sponsored by them now, I was at one point, I'll just make that clear, but a cyanoacrylate product. I'm using Starbond products here. I find them phenomenal. You can get them in multiple different colors, but they just make your day so much easier because with an activator, you can dry them almost instantly. Now you see, we have that nice liner all filled in, the black material, and now we're going to remove that excess. We're going to be left with a real nice finish. Now with those handles done, we're going to cover them up, as you can see here, painter's tape. I use a lot of painter's tape in the shop. And now we're going to dress the blades. We've got lots of scratching, deep scratching on this one. We can't fully refinish it because of the nice etching. But on this one here, this blade is real bad. Very deep pitting. But the process is the same for both blades, believe it or not. In either case, no matter how deep the scratching, you have to start with a coarse grit, take the whole surface down until those scratches, those unwanted scratches, are gone. Then you work your way back up through the grits until you get to a fine enough grit that you can buff or polish. That's what we're doing here. Now you might not always need to go to the coarsest grit. I believe on this blade I started with a good crisp 120 and a 220 and a 500 structured abrasive, and up until a fine cork belt that I'm using right here that leaves just a beautiful finish and ready for the buffing machine. You might get away with starting at a 220 grit, maybe you can get away with starting at a 400 grit, but the process is going to be the same to take down the surface of the blade and then work your way up through the grits. If you're going to be doing any polishing on knives or any type of project, a buffing machine like this is absolutely essential. What also I would say is essential is having a different variety of wheels and compounds to achieve different effects. With hardened steel like this, it is difficult to carve or manipulate the surface. It's hard steel. So by starting with a coarse cutting compound and a coarse burlap wheel like this is called a sizzle wheel, we can aggressively change the surface, then we can move up through different compounds and over to different material wheels, and we're doing the same thing essentially we're doing with the grinding belts, the varying grits, except on a wheel, on a soft wheel, at a more refined level. But we're basically done these knives themselves. Let's take a look at the result. And here we have them. This is that one that was badly pitted. And you can see we've completely resurfaced the blade, taken all of that pitting out there. That handle taken care of. Isn't that just beautiful? Well worth it. Look at that. Hey, hey, hey. I talked with the client, talked with the owner, and there was just barely the remaining PUMA stamp on there, almost gone. And we talked about whether leave all the pitting and leave that little partial PUMA or refinish it. And he opted for this option, and I certainly agree with his choice. It's what I would have done. He knows it's a PUMA. It's on video now. We know it's a PUMA. Again, we filled all those gaps, so this is a beautiful feeling handle now. Refinished that bolster, which is aluminum. All those studs, pins, pin heads, and everything is filled. Everything's nice and flush. We've repolished. Look at the gloss on that stag. Isn't that beautiful? And then this is the one that was in the better condition. Now we did have, if you remember, a lot of heavy scratching on this side. All of that is gone now, as you can see. Beautiful finish. All the handle, the bolsters here, the guards beautifully finished. And then on this side, we had that real nice etching, but in order to keep that etching, we had to leave a bunch of those scars in there. I did lightly resurface the front portion of the blade, just the nose here. There's a lot of deep scratching up around here. But that scratching back through here, so I carved off the deep scratching right here on the nose. That was kind of bad. But the scratching running back through here from probably a sharpener or something, I did not touch that for fear of touching this beautiful etching. With this much of the etching left on this blade, it would not be worth it. Just polishing like we did and leaving those scars there is the better option. To leave all of that etching. Look at that handle. We had some big gaps in the black on this one, all filled with the cyanoacrylate, so we have a beautiful flush finish. This handle is just seamless. Just a beautiful piece. And that's it for this video, guys. We're leaving it right there, these beautiful knives. Those two sheaths are going to be in a part 2 because this was a nice project right here. Those leather sheaths are a fair project. So we're going to tackle that in part 2 coming up after this one. So stay tuned. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if it's your first time here. If you want to get a hold of me, my email's in the description beneath this video. And if you want to shop my web store, you can go ahead. Go to KyleNoseworthy.com and you can shop. Stock available. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you come back for the leather. We'll see you in the next video.